Over the past 2 weeks, the Philadelphia Eagles have had their chances to accomplish two things that they set out to do when the NFL season began. These things being clinching the NFC East division title and obtaining the #1 seed in the NFC. But over the past 2 weeks, the Philadelphia Eagles have blown both of their chances, losing back-to-back games versus the Dallas Cowboys and New Orleans Saints. And now here they find themselves. They're down to their last game of this season. This is the Philadelphia Eagles' last chance to clinch that 1 seed in the NFC East division crown. With incredibly high stakes heading into this final week of the NFL regular season, you have to ask the questions. Will the Eagles win and clinch the NFC East in the 1 seed? Will the Eagles lose and suffer a huge late season collapse? We will discuss all this in this video today. But before we do that, make sure you go subscribe to the channel if you want more Philadelphia Eagles content, Philadelphia 76ers content. I do it all over here and you're not going to want to miss any of the content we got on this channel. So click the subscribe button. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, it wasn't that long ago that the Philadelphia Eagles were sitting at 13-1 with the best record in the NFL, and it looked like they pretty much had the #1 seed and, of course, the NFC East division title all wrapped up. All they had to do was win one of their final 3 games, and it looked like they were on track to do that. The Eagles were playing great football at that point. They'd only lost 1 game, obviously. On offense, they'd become probably, if not the best offense in the entire league, one of them, one of the most explosive offenses for sure, that can run the football on you, they could pass the football on you, and they could just beat you in a multitude of ways. And of course, the defense was looking dominant as well. They were playing great football, and they were dominating opposing offenses in multiple ways. So it looked like the Eagles were well on their way to both the NFC East division title and the 1 seed. But of course, an injury to Jalen Hurts' shoulder in their Week 15 win over the Chicago Bears threw some adversity at the Philadelphia Eagles. And now, of course, after 2 straight losses, they're in this scenario where they have to get a win versus the New York Giants to clinch these 2 things. And with this game being as high stakes as it is for the Eagles, this is probably their biggest game of the entire season. 100% no doubt. The Eagles have to come out here and get this win versus the New York Giants, as there's a multitude of different scenarios that could happen depending on if the Eagles win and if the Eagles lose. So real quick, I just want to go through each scenario that could happen depending on what happens in this game. So #1, if the Philadelphia Eagles get a win or a tie versus the New York Giants, they are locked into the #1 seed and the NFC East division title. No question about it. The Eagles control their own destiny. So if they get a win, they're stuck at the 1 seed. Now, the only other way the Eagles can get that 1 seed if they lose the game is if both the 49ers and Dallas Cowboys lose their upcoming games this week as well, which I find very unlikely, so I don't expect that to happen at all. Now, the Eagles could fall down to the #2 seed if the 49ers were to win, but the Cowboys were to lose, and of course the Eagles were to lose as well. So the Eagles would be the 2 seed in that scenario, and then the Eagles could fall all the way down to the #5 seed if they lose this game to the Giants and the Cowboys end up getting a win. So those are all the different scenarios heading into this game versus the Giants of where the Eagles could finish. So I think the main thing to take away from that is that the Philadelphia Eagles control their own destiny, and if they get the win, they will be the #1 seed in the NFC. So they're going to need to do everything in their power to win this game, and the Eagles are going to need all the help they can get. Now, I want to discuss real quickly the 2 main problems that I think have been the main contributors to the Eagles' losses over the past couple weeks. #1, offensive play calling. And what I mean by this is I don't think the Eagles coaches did a phenomenal job of shaping their game plan around Gardner Minshew without, of course, Jalen Hurts being available for either one of those games. And I think their offensive game plan wasn't exactly the smartest. And I think that's something the Eagles didn't do that I really think they should have committed more to, is running the football in these past 2 games. I think their run effectiveness has just decreased over these past 2 weeks. And I think especially last week you saw them kind of just get away from the run at times altogether, which I don't think is very smart. Miles Sanders is the team's first 1,000-yard back since Shady McCoy back in 2014. He's been so good this season. And the Philadelphia Eagles running offense has been one of the best in the league over the past couple seasons. And I think a way that you could hide some of Gardner Minshew's deficiencies is running the football, which they got away from. I've already mentioned this in multiple other videos. And then another thing is Gardner Minshew, obviously. Gardner Minshew is not Jalen Hurts. He's not as talented as Jalen Hurts, and he's not going to be able to put the Eagles offense on his back at times and lead them through crucial points in games and just be the difference maker that Jalen Hurts has been all season. And he's struggled in these past 2 games, especially last week. He was just awful versus the Saints. And again, I've already mentioned this in previous videos, so I don't want to go too in detail on either one of these things, but those are kind of the 2 main problems I've seen over the past couple weeks. But I think these 2 main problems can be resolved with the return of Jalen Hurts. And it has just been reported that Jalen Hurts will officially be back for tomorrow's game versus the New York Giants, so that is some great news for the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, having Jalen Hurts back for the Philadelphia Eagles is so huge for them. He's a difference maker. He's been an MVP caliber player this season. I could go on and on and on about how valuable Jalen Hurts is to this Philadelphia Eagles team. I think you've seen his value as he hasn't been there over the past 2 weeks, and I think it's shown a lot of the Philadelphia Eagles deficiencies without him. So obviously having him back is going to be great for the Philadelphia Eagles and their chances tomorrow versus the Giants. And in addition, to also have guys like CJ Gardner-Johnson and Robert Quinn who are supposed to return for this game as well. I've already made a video pretty much talking about this news as the main focus, so you can go check that out. When you look at everything in totality, this is all really good news for the Philadelphia Eagles, and it bodes well for their chances of winning this game versus the Giants, clinching the NFC East and clinching the #1 seed in the NFC. So then you just ask the question, it's a simple question really, will the Philadelphia Eagles win tomorrow versus the Giants? Well, to determine that, we have to look at the Giants side of things. The Giants have been playing well all season. They have a record of 9-6-1, and last week with a win over the Indianapolis Colts, they were able to secure a playoff berth for the first time in what feels like a very long time. And they're sitting at the #6 seed in that wild card spot, and they're locked into that spot. They can't move up, they can't move down. They're sitting there at #6. So there was a lot of speculation all week, especially after the Eagles lost their last game, and the possibility of the Giants playing or resting their starters. And it's looking like, leading into this game versus the Eagles, that the Giants are going to make their decision to rest key players versus the Philadelphia Eagles, which is huge news. Obviously, with the Giants not really having much to play for except to play spoiler to the Eagles getting that #1 seed, they don't really want to risk injury moving into the playoffs here. A couple big names being reported to be rested tomorrow for the Giants are Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, and obviously those are two of the Giants' most crucial impact players this season. Saquon Barkley obviously having an incredible season, and Daniel Jones has probably had one of the best years of his entire career this year. So those two not playing severely hurts the Giants' offense. It'll leave Tyrod Taylor to start tomorrow for the New York Giants. Finishing editing this video, it has just been announced that Tyrod Taylor will not start versus the Eagles, and instead it will be Davis Webb. So that just makes the Eagles' chances of winning this game even higher. So with the Giants resting plenty of their key players, especially on offense, this bodes well for the Philadelphia Eagles defense, who already has had success against the New York Giants this season. And the Eagles defense has been dominant all season. They're #1 in the league in yards allowed per game, and they're also #1 in sacks. So I expect the Philadelphia Eagles to come out here and be able to have a pretty good amount of success against this New York Giants offense that's not going to have two of their best players. So it looks like everything is pretty much in the Eagles' favor for them to come away with the win tomorrow versus the Giants. But that doesn't 100% mean it's going to happen. And the Philadelphia Eagles have to face this game with a sense of urgency. If they lose this game, it would be considered one of the biggest collapses in the NFL over the past few years, losing their last 3 straight games to choke their division title, choke the 1 seed, and fall all the way down to a wild card spot. That would be one of the major collapses in NFL history in recent memory, at the very least. And the Philadelphia Eagles need to come out here with urgency in order to avoid that. I think you kind of have to treat this game like a playoff game, because even though it's not quite a playoff game, you have to have that sense of urgency to come out here and take care of business, wrap up the 1 seed, wrap up the NFC East division title, because you should have already done that a couple weeks back. And even though you faced adversity, that's something that was expected of this team for a large portion of this season. And if they were to collapse and fall all the way down to #5 or even fall to #2, that would just be a huge disappointment. So the Eagles have to come out here and just bring it on both sides of the ball. I think one of the keys to this game, I think you have to come out here and jump on the Giants early. I think you have to have a quick start, put up points early on the Giants, and just kind of show them this is not going to be their day. Don't take your foot off the gas, just keep that same level of intensity and just play all the way, all through the 60 minutes. I think getting a early, quick start for the Eagles, both sides of the ball, not just offense and scoring points, but defense, shutting them down, showing them they're going to have a hard time moving the ball on this stout Philadelphia Eagles defense. And with the Giants not really having anything to play for, and their focus kind of already at this point being on the playoffs with no possibility of them moving up or moving down, like I said, nothing to play for in this game. I think they're just going to be focused on getting to the first round of the playoffs healthy. If the Eagles are able to jump on them early and get a huge lead, the Eagles should pretty much be able to run away with this win. Get this win, get out of here with the NFC East division title, get out of there with the 1 seed. and move on, and then shift your focus to the playoffs moving forward. So overall, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to get this win. My final score prediction is going to be 31-14 Eagles win. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. Hopefully I'm right, because I obviously haven't been the last 2 weeks, but I really think with the Giants starters resting and them having nothing to play for, and the Eagles meanwhile having to treat this pretty much like a playoff game, I think the Eagles should be able to come out here and get the job done. So yeah, I pretty much expect the Eagles to come out here, get this win, clinch the 1 seed, clinch the NFC East division title, wrap up the regular season, and then shift our focus to the playoffs here. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys. If you want to watch more Philadelphia Eagles content, I'll have that on the screen right here next to me. Subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy this video and others like it, covering the Philadelphia Eagles, covering the Sixers, and drop a like on this video to help push it out to other people. And with that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this video. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.